Hello and welcome to Record Rep, the Adventist Record News Podcast. It's Friday, August 1. I'm Juliana Muniz.
And I'm Jankiewicz.
In today's episode, we look at how Adventists across the South Pacific are taking action on justice, health, and safety. But first, Ashley, can you tell us what's making headlines around the world?
The 4th annual cross-country I Run for My Mom race was recently organised by the AMI-CUS Romania Student Federation and ADRA Romania. Held in 12 different cities across Romania at the same time, 2,958 runners, including 739 children, ran to promote a healthy lifestyle as well as to raise funds and awareness for survivors of domestic violence. The donations will be put towards psychological and medical support, as well as shelter, food, supplies, transportation, and legal guidance. ADRA has been running the Emergency Reception Centre of Victims of Domestic Violence, or ADRA House, for 16 years, assisting more than 3,800 mothers and children and hosting 1,147. In other news, a recent study showed that a molecule developed from Llama antibodies may be the key to helping people with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is generally treated with antipsychotics, which can help reduce hallucinations and delusions, but do not help prepare cognitive functions. Studies on mice have shown positive results demonstrating the molecule's ability to treat the brain deficits of schizophrenia, but further research is needed to learn how the results can be effectively applied to heal the human brain.
Now back to the South Pacific. A new book is inviting justice seekers to take a closer look at what faith has to offer. Practising Justice by Science Publishing book editor Nathan Brown was launched at Avondale University Church on July 26. The book offers a faith-based framework for those working in justice and advocacy, highlighting how belief in God can provide the resilience and hope needed to keep going. Mr. Brown explains.
I appreciate people that work for good, whatever faith background they come from, or even people from no faith. I think that's really important and valuable, and we should applaud that. But I think that the work of justice is really hard, and to be able to continue to do it in a world that is stubbornly unjust, faith is a resource for us to do that with resilience and perseverance and hope. So we have something unique to contribute, and I also think in our theological understanding of what it means to be human, of what God intends for our world, is a really significant insight for how we can work for the good of others.
Rather than speaking about justice work to religious readers, Practising Justice takes a different approach. Mr. Brown describes the book as an invitation to bridge the gap between faith and activism.
There is an evangelistic aspect to this book. I think all of it, those of us who have faith and want to learn more about justice and what the Bible says about that can learn from it. But I think it would be a great book to share with perhaps a younger person or someone who is passionate about justice in their community or in the world, and say, hey, this is something that my faith has to offer to the good things that you're seeking to do in the world, and to really connect people with the true source of justice and hope and goodness, which is the God we believe in.
The launch event brought together voices in the space of justice and faith, including ADRA Australia CEO Denison Grellman, who emphasized the link between belief and action.
Faith is what motivates, what empowers us to actually go about what we do in social justice. We don't separate our faith from what we do.
Also attending the event was Gershon Nimbolker, National Director of Common Grace, a movement that advocates on issues such as Aboriginal justice, climate, refugees, and domestic violence. He also agrees that faith can uniquely shape and sustain justice efforts.
As you read through the gospel stories, if you look out at what Jesus' life and what his discipleship calls us to, it gives us great resources to do justice well, and in a way that most people and most communities can't. Grounds us in hope, postures us towards love, and makes us believe that we can make a difference together by working in a collective. So faith is important to justice, and justice is important to faith.
The event also featured a live Q&A session with the author where attendees raised questions on a wide range of issues related to justice and faith, including why some Christians hesitate to engage in justice work and how to pursue it while remaining faithful to biblical principles.
At times we have seen justice as purely political, and as a church we've kind of shied away from some of that kind of engagement. But I also think that for some of us It is difficult, makes us uncomfortable. It's complex. We live in a messy and complicated and broken world, and this stuff isn't simple. So it does take our energy and our attention and learning. And I guess even that's part of the title of Practising Justice, is that we get better at it by doing it and by continuing to engage with it and prioritise it and take it seriously. And when we recognise that that is a part of God's call to us, that is something that we will invest in more.
Practising Justice is available now from Adventist bookshops in Australia and New Zealand. You can also find the book online through the link in the description of this episode. An Avondale University student is pushing his limits and his running shoes for a good cause. 19-year-old Caleb Morton is tackling a 250-kilometer challenge this week, running the entire Great North Walk from Sydney to Newcastle over just 5 days, the equivalent of 5 ultramarathons in a row. His goal is to raise $25,000 for Cancer Council Australia. Mr. Morton says the fundraiser is a tribute to his grandfather, who recently passed away from cancer.
I got a model of Jesus a lot through my grandfather. He was never in things for himself, and he was such a servant leader of my family and stuff. I really learned a lot from him. I lost my grandfather to cancer around 2 months ago, and I wanted to do something to not only help myself by getting myself out of the slump, but just do something hard to try and raise money for the Cancer Council. This was like a skill that God had given me, and I thought I could try and use that for him.
The Great North Walk is no easy feat, with more than 8,000 meters of elevation, roughly the height of Mount Everest.
It's actually a bush trail for most of the way from Sydney to Newcastle, and it is going to be split up over 5 days. With each day, I'm going to be blocking out like 1/5 of the run. So I'm going to come home every night after that, sleep, and get straight back out on the track in the morning.
He's supported by a crew of friends and his father, who are following by car and bike to help with meals and logistics. Mr. Morton says his faith plays an essential role in the journey.
I would say my faith, at the end of the day, when you get into those really tough scenarios where you're, battling it out against your own body and just seeing how far you can push yourself, really all you've got is God. That's why I love running, because my faith in God is really like the one thing that you can rely on when everything else goes.
You can follow his progress on Instagram and support the fundraiser through his GoFundMe page. Find all the links in this episode's description. Leaders of the Adventist Church in the South Pacific have reaffirmed their commitment to child safety. This past Wednesday, SPD leaders signed a statement of commitment to the Australian National Principles for Child-Safe Organizations. The signing took place at the SPD headquarters in Warunga. SPD President Pastor Glenn Townend said the initiative reflects the kind of culture the church wants to build.
We want to have a culture that is child-friendly and protects vulnerable people. That's what Jesus stood for. He healed all people who were vulnerable with disease and all kinds of deformities and stuff, and he blessed little children. And we want to be that kind of place and people that do that.
The SPD joins the Australian Union Conference and other Adventist entities in publicly displaying the commitment and encouraging others to do the same. Pastor Townend says the goal is to model care and safety across all church offices, schools, and ministries.
The South Pacific Division, we obviously lead for the whole division, so we want our office to model caring for vulnerable people and children. And we want that to happen in all of the unions and all of the conferences and missions and all of our institutions.
EdSafe General Manager Pastor Michael Worker says that visibly displaying the commitment is an important prevention step.
To have the SPD and the AUC sign this is it's a very clear declaration that we want our church, our schools, all of our ministries to be safe places for children. And by displaying the poster in a local church, in a school, it becomes a visual deterrent. So that if a visitor comes along who might have, intentions to do the wrong thing, these visual deterrents are very powerful of saying, hey, we take child protection seriously, we take vulnerable adult protection really seriously, and it's not acceptable here. And so it sends people away who have got bad intentions. I think it supports and underpins evangelism. It builds community confidence and shows that we are very genuine about our mission.
The SPD will continue working closely with EdSafe to ensure leaders and volunteers are equipped with the training and tools to uphold a culture of safety. For more information or resources, visit edsafe.org.au. And that wraps up this week's episode of Record Rep. Thank you for tuning in.
Don't forget to visit our website at record.adventistchurch.com and follow us on social media for more updates and stories. You can also receive news straight to your inbox by subscribing to our weekly e-newsletter.
We'll be back next week with more news from around the South Pacific Division. See you then.
This is an Adventist Media podcast.